and we need to put pressure on we need to throw out the politicians who are not about making a difference for the people. Because one of the things that I've sadly learned here is nothing that I think or that I see as a solution to a problem here that people seem to talk about problems, never about solutions.
The Afropreneurs Podcast, a podcast for African entrepreneurs, presents inspiring, innovative, and disruptive entrepreneurs from Africa as they share their lessons, insights, and learnings from their unique entrepreneurial ventures. I'll be your host. My name is Ogweno Stephen. Let's roll.
We should be more than welcome as citizens.
Yeah.
Because, for sure, if you go back to people like Joseph Marumbi, okay? They will. If he was alive, he would tell you, here's the imprint here that Africans in America showed and demonstrated the resilience, the resistance, and gave us heart. Not only did they do it for Africans, they did it for Europeans throughout Europe, in Ireland. You talk to the Irish, progressive Irish, they'll tell you that the civil rights movement was the thing that really made them realize that they didn't have to be under the British and squashed, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So, and the other fact is that there is no African country you can go in and have a life as an African American. You can't have a bank account. You can't own land. You can't. I'm 10 years. I'm married to an African, a Kenyan. It took me more than 10 years to get citizenship. So what is this? So what is this thing about you gonna come and get citizenship? I've been here.
And for some time.
Yeah. And so, meaning there's a whole list of things that you can't be employed. So they don't tell you. Meaning, I come here and unless you're retiring here, that's one. Okay, but still, you don't. You're not giving those things or giving the opportunity of those things. Or for being facilitated in any manner that you can actually come and live in Africa and have an opportunity for a basic life. Meaning, so if you can't, because you're going to be taxed from income from America. You're here if you're not able to work. Let's say you're a young, middle-aged younger person. You're not ready to retire.
Yeah.
If you got and you want to bring, let's say, like for example, let's say you're an agronomist, and and you want to bring something to the nation.
Yeah.
Okay. You're not allowed to because the idea is, we have people who can do that job. The job ain't being done. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay. So. It's really, one pisses me off because what I realize, I'm like, why are we scratching around begging for to be acknowledged, one, and then two, to be granted citizenship. This is our home.
Yeah.
And we've defended it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're gonna take that issue up with some of the people in authority.
Yeah.
No, because that's not even a part of the discussion. There's no discussion around. It's the discussion. Yeah, we're gonna invite them back and let them invest, and so to a large extent, the African Americans. I've had, for example, briefly, there was a African American couple in their 50s, very, very serious about being in Africa, contributing. They had 2 children. They came here and they just were worn out. And they hated America. They hated America worse than I did. But they had to go back because there was no means of, opportunity and support. They weren't looking for no welfare. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They came, but it was like, we can't make it here, And I'm talking about they weren't trying to be upper middle class.
Yeah.
They were, but so I'm saying we need to stop the nonsense. I mean, and we need to put pressure on we need to throw out the politicians who are not about making a difference for the people. Because one of the things that I've sadly learned here is nothing that I think or that I see as a solution to a problem here that people seem to talk about problems, never about solutions. So when you come up with a solution, their whole issue is, well, how do I get paid? You know what I'm saying? It's not how does this benefit, and I'm talking about ministers that I've dealt with.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've like 14, at least 14, in less than 5 years, 14 in serious inventions that have the capacity and have changed the lives of people and have the capacity to create significant industry. But how does it benefit me?
Yeah.
And as long as, and here we talk about greed, and here we talk about corruption. Corruption and greed, to me, has one basic source: loss of culture.
Yeah.
Because when you lose your culture, you don't have any sense of responsibility to the masses, to the community, and that's what and who we were. We were a people who were about sharing.
Yeah.
We were a people who were about having a responsibility to elders, a respect for elders, a place for having a life that integrated with other people. Okay, a sense of community. Hell, I live in a community here, and the people in the community. People have been living here for 15 years, don't know their neighbor. I could have stayed in America for that.
Yeah.
I mean, Africans. If you don't have a sense of community and value, it makes you one so vulnerable, and then you wonder why things like, for example, my neighbor. My neighbor, one day, I didn't know the neighbor. Okay, I speak to everybody, but I'm saying he had a big truck pull up to his house during the day, and somebody walked out with a big television. And I called my wife. She said, "What?" I said, "Look at this." I'm like, "Here's a 48-inch television walking out this house in the middle of the day into the back of a truck," and I'm saying, "That looks suspicious." So I said to my wife, I said, "See, this is the stuff I'm talking about. We need to be able to have relations with our neighbors so that we can at least stop them from getting ripped off." So what I did, I went and I went to the person who was driving the truck and said, "Okay, what are you here for? What are you doing?" Da, 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 blah, blah, blah. But I didn't even know the name of the people next door to be able to say X, But ultimately, in the end, I had them call and have the owner, check in to say that it was okay.
Yeah.
But one, you want to have people. You want to have a community. If all these big houses here, it is no community. I mean, I could have done that in America.
Yeah.
So I came back to Africa for what was here in 1971, and lo and behold,
no more.
I tell you how bad it is. The culture tradition here is that when you visit someone's home, you take what? A kiando basket with some fruit and whatever. So my wife had said to me, "So Herman, that's the tradition." Plus we were into making kiandos out of recycled material and selling them in Europe and America, whatever. But she said culturally that's the tradition. I said, "Oh, that's good. I like that." So neighbors moved in over here, right across the way, and I said to them, and I saw they had a little girl and husband and wife. I said, Lucy, people just moved into the house that's been vacant. I said, we should take a candle basket. She said, hey, you can take one if you want. I said, what do you mean? I said, that's what you taught me. He said, yeah, that's your trick. I said, because we do stuff like that in America. They're like, hey, neighbor, hey, it's a new neighbor. Hi, welcome to the neighborhood. She's like, you can't do that stuff here in modern Africa. I said, even in the village. She said, you can't do it. Because people, there's no sense of community and people are so suspicious, they think you're casing the joint. For robbing. God, Lord, why am I here?
Yeah, and I think this is such a nice spot to sort of really carve out this conversation, sort of tying back to this concept of when you sort of come from Kemet and the concept of slavery then, and then move into colonization, and what that ultimately did was the loss of culture.
Totally.
And now look at the problems now, especially corruption and greed, which directly attributes to loss of culture and loss of accountability and loss of connectedness.
Totally account. See, you know, one of the things that kills me here, you can be a minister and everybody knows you on a big take. You go to one of the churches and they hold you up high like you Jesus Christ anointed. You know? Meaning, instead of them shunning that person, let me tell you, when I came to Africa in 71, tell you what happened. I was in a market in Senegal, and we were driving past, and all of a sudden this kid stole something. This man stole something at the market. The whole village went after him, beat the shit out of him. Okay, now here, that doesn't exist. So there was a sense of they didn't own the people who went after him. They didn't have
anything to do with it.
Invested interest, but they understood that if they allow their community to disintegrate and to be, all of us can be violated. It wasn't their tomato stand, but it was their community. Now, and like back then, there was this sense of family lineage, and the worst thing you could do was, as an individual, was put shame on your family. It was a powerful thing. I remember I had young brothers from Africa who would stay with us, and of course they're out of the country. They're going to experiment with a little alcohol or whatever else. But certain things they wouldn't think about doing because I said, you know what they would say to me? I can't.
It would embarrass the family. Accountability.
I can't do this because it'll bring shame on my whole family. Now these politicians and the people in general, they have no shame. They have no sense of accountability, and then they wonder why they live in such a hell. You know?
And so, and sort of concluding then, I think some of the most important lesson that comes out of that walk through histories is that there needs to be a sense of going back into this community sense in the modern age. And actually that's what we're going to be discussing in the next episode. We're talking about how do we bring back, those pivotal cultures, traditions, histories, and practices in this modern age in order to sort of continue this narrative where we're having a sustainable community accountability and hopefully take us back into, the Kemet which we were before, which is this prosperous group of people working together throughout.
Exactly.
All right. Thanks for listening. And that's a wrap for this episode. For more exciting episodes like this, don't forget to follow our podcast, the Afropreneurs Podcast, on all streaming sites and visit our website at www.ogwenostephen.com. See you on the next one.